G'day people, I'm Sharyn, welcome to my channel. Today I'm stitching out my design number 20T, and the T stands for Trapunto. Trapunto essentially means quilting in high relief, having extra wadding in to give it a bit of extra fluffiness. I'm going to start by putting an extra large piece of backing fabric into my hoop and just hooping it up. It doesn't need to be fabulously tight, it needs to be tight enough to stay firm preferably, but I don't want it stretched in there. And then when I get to the machine, I'm going to put a piece of wadding that is plenty wide enough, because once again I am wanting to make this design with the extra sashing pieces around the edge. Then I've got two pieces of extra wadding, and these ones are the ones that are going to be for the trapunto, so the additional wadding to help the flower stand up. This one is a little bit different as a trapunto one because it doesn't have stippling around it, it's just a design in the middle, and that's the sorts of designs that I am using for these ones with the sashing around, or the borders around the edge. There's that fabric that I've already got in the hoop. I'm laying on the wadding. I have moved the design to the top of the hoop because I don't want to waste too much fabric if I can avoid it. So if you've got a rectangular hoop, move the design to one end of the hoop. If you've only got a square hoop, that makes no difference. And then I'm adding in my two extra layers of wadding. Something to remember about these: put the bigger one on the outside. As it happens, both of these are about the full size of the design, so they're not going to be a problem. But where the needle is at the moment on Janome machines, it always moves itself right to the center of a design. So if I find the center of my wadding, that is also the center of the whole design, where if I put the center of the wadding underneath where the needle is. This machine does not have one stitch stop, so I'm going to hold the thread while I do one stitch. Oh, I actually wanted to pull that bobbin thread up to the top so that I don't end up with a big clump of it underneath. And I'm going to get those threads out of the way there. Babysitting it while it does laying down the trapunto wadding. And now I'm going to take it back to the cutting table so that I can trim off the excess around here. So I'm back at the cutting table, and this is the back of the design. Now all of my designs, and this is part of my 100 design CD, when you've got these trapunto ones and they lay down the extra wadding for the trapunto, these stitches are big, which makes them much easier to get out after you've finished the design, so that on the back these ones eventually won't be there. On the right side, I'm going to trim away just these top two layers, and sometimes it's easier to go one layer at a time. Usually I'm okay doing two layers at a time. And I work my way anti-clockwise. I'm right-handed. I work my way anti-clockwise around here. And there are some angles that it's easier to do it on. I have my scissors actually quite flattened. If you were left-handed and you're using left-handed scissors, you would be going the other way around the design. This doesn't have to be perfect. What we're adding here is sufficient extra wadding, so there will be 2 extra layers of wadding in the middle that will hold the design up. Just work my way around slowly, and because I did the smaller piece underneath, I didn't, even if the smaller piece didn't make it all the way to the edge, I didn't actually get stuck on an edge. I managed to snip the threads there. It doesn't matter, that will be held in place well enough that it's still going to give the effect that I want it to give, even if those few threads have been snipped. Because all they're doing is actually holding this in place while I cut it out. So after the first part of the design, the first colour in the design, my fabric is still in the hoop, I haven't moved that. My main layer of wadding, which is going to be in the design, that's under there. Those 2 extra layers which are going to make the design in the middle stand up, they're in the middle and cut out. Now I missed some pieces here. If I want to, I can cut them off, but it's not that really big of a deal, because what I'm really wanting for this to do is to give the whole thing extra dimension. I'm going to take it exactly like this. I'm not going to take it out of the hoop. I'm going to take it back to the machine now. This here is the middle of the design. I need to put sufficient top fabric in here so that it will cover the whole square. So nothing came out of the hoop. There's the hoop with the backing fabric in. There's the wadding that has been stitched in and the extra couple of layers. I've got the hoop back on the machine, and I've made sure that my top fabric extends to cover all the places where the design is going to be. Once again, I really would rather have my bobbin thread up at the top. So I've pulled both of those threads up to the top, foot down, and I am now going to babysit it while it does this first square. Now the reason I want to trim off this jump thread is so that I don't accidentally have this foot get stuck under it. So if I just trim it off there, it's now in a position that it's right out of the way. It's not going to interfere with the foot on the machine. This design I have chosen specifically because it doesn't have stippling around it. And I've done that because the other designs that it's going to be in the project with also do not have stippling around the back or around the outside of them. And that means that this one and this one are going to look similar on the back. They're not going to be very odd. I'm cutting out with a just under 1 1/4 inch allowance from the square around the design to the very outside. I'll do that all the way around. So I'm running the 1 1/4 inches from the edges just inside that square. There is not any real reason to keep all of this extra fabric around here. So I can choose to roughly cut it off. It's not necessary. Either way, it's not going to make a great deal of difference. The thing that I do need to do, however, is draw some lines on here, which I will do next. The lines I am drawing are going to be just under 1/4 inch from that same line, which pretty much means don't cut too much of this off, otherwise you might find yourself without being able to draw your lines that you need to draw here. I think it would probably be quite difficult to draw them on the wadding. The only reason I'm doing that is to give myself an idea of where I need to lay the fabrics down that are going to be the borders, so that I catch them, because I'm going to stitch from the other side. I need to make sure that those borders are going to be covered against that line. So here are the 4 pieces that I have cut to go around the edge of this particular block and make its borders. And I'll pin 2 on and then sew them. So when I go to pin them on, right side down and the edge pretty much along that drawn line there. Pin them on. And because it's pinned out there, when I sew on this line here, I will catch this all the way along. And I'll do the same on this side. And then I'll open them both out and put the side ones on. So there's my completed dahlia. I think it looks quite nice. It's going to go very well with this one. And on the back, they've both got the cream thread. The very first one I did when I started getting all excited about this though, you can see that the back of that is just going to be completely not right with the others. So I'll do that one again. That's all part of the fun though. And the further you think about it, the more you think about how things are going together, you make little adjustments. See you next time.